morning. Good morning. It is Thursday, September 1st. Welcome to the latter half of the year. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy Vet certified doer, and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 89th District. I know I'm behind time, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I got on here. I contemplated just taking a little break due to the events in my community last night. And I woke up to a flurry of text messages from folks around our city and in the community asking if things were okay. So let me just go ahead and confirm. Yes, there was an officer involved shooting on my block. There was an officer involved shooting, or a police officer was shot on the block that I live in. This is not I am not surprised. Let's just start there. I am not surprised. I know that across our city there are many communities that are dealing with, like we are, every other night hearing gunshots. At least twice a week you hear some things popping off. And at first, it was really, for me, I moved my mother down here from the Chicagoland area and reminded her like how much safer it is here, how much opportunity there is here in Norfolk, and those things have not changed, right? It is a much safer place than the Chicagoland area, but the trauma, right, from hearing gunshots on a regular basis, meaning once a week, it is not unique to the Ballantyne Place community. There are folks that have been dealing with this for quite a great deal of time. That is part of the reason why, as I developed out, my team and I developed out our agenda for next year, we honed in on public safety. And I know that I have not necessarily said a whole bunch, but we have been working behind the scenes to try to get money to put in the right places to be able to combat violence. Now, let me be super clear, right? The violence that happened on my block, right? I know exactly where it was. I know exactly the house. I know exactly who lives there. I'm not afraid to say that out loud. Getting away from snitching culture, right? That's not real. We worked very hard. The thing that probably hit me the most when I realized, I walked out of my house to go get my water bottle from my car, and I hear the police running up the street saying, "I will shoot you, I will shoot you." And I knew exactly what house the rest of the cop cars were at. My heart sunk in a way that I have a community, or had a community resource officer, and the relationship that we built in this community when I was a civic league president was super important. We kept tabs on things. He kept them abreast of things. We were able to keep a lot of things at bay. And to keep it real with you, things have gotten much worse, which is, again, not as bad as some communities since we lost our community resource officer, because we were able to buck up against things. When I saw things happening in the neighborhood, particularly in the spot where the officer was shot, we were able to say, hey, you know what, you might want to just, give a little ride by, just give a little, hey, we recognize that that mitigating crime requires community, right? It requires the people in that space and place. But I don't necessarily have all the tools, parts, and materials to buck up against that, other than making sure that I make myself visible, say hello to these folks, do X, Y, and Z. So I found myself in a bit of frustration because we lost a resource. Right now, we don't have necessarily we have one, but we don't have the resource to the capacity that we used to, and that's because folks are leaving the department, right? And that's not just Norfolk, like we know that, and it is not unique to us. We just are not competitive. But among that, we have to start thinking about what actually mitigates crime. And it's unfortunate because time and time again, as I do homework for bills that we're bringing up next session, and we will have not a town hall, but we will have a meeting where I'll just outline my legislative agenda so you guys understand the majority of the things we're doing right now, the majority of the things that we're going to bring to the General Assembly next year, we've been working on all summer, are to mitigate crime, right? But I also know when we get down to the brass tacks and the truth of what it is mitigating crime requires investment. And that's it. That you get more out of a person from putting money into their community rather than in incarcerating them. It's real. It's real. And that very same place where this shooting happened, I remember driving by the other day, and the young men were like, Miss Jackie, hey, I heard we got a park. Yeah, we got a park. We're going to keep that park safe, though, right? We're going to make sure the kids be able to have a good time up there, right? We're going to keep it clean, right? It's real. So I just wanted to dispel that. I had a bunch of text messages this morning asking me if if a police officer was shot on my block. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes. And it's been a long summer, and we're rolling down to the end of it. But yes, and as I said before, this is just it feels just as bad as my son saying he had a gun flashed on him this summer, right? This is real. So do not take my silence as agreement, because that's not the case. But we have been working with folks to do the things that are necessary, because, as I will say this again, mitigating crime requires investment. That is a requirement. It is going to require investment. And I think what we did see from our Commonwealth's attorney over this summer was an op-ed. And for those of you who guys don't know what an op-ed, it is an opinion editorial, meaning where someone writes the newspaper and puts an opinion piece on a particular thing. And Commonwealth attorney Ramin Fatahi wrote about the witness protection program, right? But in that same vein of the witness protection program, he talked about the sort of things that we're going to be dealing with after COVID, right? He pretty much spelled out that everything that's happening now, as if he was a soothsayer, right? As if he was a psychic, but he's not. He's just experienced at his job, said that these things will happen. He also talked about the tools, parts, and materials that we need to give communities to be able to say, not in my backyard, right? There are certain things that we need to be able to say no to. We need to be able to speak up about. We need to be able to say things safely. And at the very moment, for much of the public safety stuff we're going through, y'all, it revolves around it revolves around funding. And I will tell you, we have something very amazing, very special that is going to happen to give you all the understanding of the economics of crime, right? The economics of crime. And just to give you a tidbit, I don't know if you all know this, but Commonwealth's attorneys' offices have fundings based on felony charges, not convictions, but charges. So they get numbers based on how many felonies they get funding based on that. And when you have a team of people that understand, that are very thoughtful about felonizing and very thoughtful about, then we lose funding, then it's a lot. It's a lot. And I am, as we said, my first pillar is to educate. We will be doing that. We will be educating you all on what that looks like, what that is. Okay. So there's that. I want to get into the briefing. Last night we had, and I'm transitioning because we got about 10 minutes. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm going to try to knock out some things this morning that I should have did last night. We had a meeting the other night with folks in preparation for next Tuesday. If you don't know, next Tuesday I will be back in Richmond. We have to select an SEC judge. If you've watched the news, then you've probably seen them say, hey, the Republicans dispel that they're going to bring any access to reproductive care, i.e. access to abortion access. They said they're not going to bring any bills. They dispelled that myth. However, I just want to put this caveat on there. The legislator can say that what they are and are not going to do. The governor is a different case. So I still am on hot standby for what will come down from the executive branch, because that's a whole nother. Our governor didn't give his word that we won't see that, so we can probably expect to see something, or we don't know. We just have to stand by. And so as I know more information, you guys will. I promised that at the very minimum. Let me see if I can get this file open for you guys. Many of you saw that decision on the books the other day, that there was a local delegate and an attorney that was suing Barnes and Noble to say that they shouldn't sell certain books to minors. Look, ignorance is definitely a place where, let me backtrack. I'm working on little sleep. This is what happened to rap music. This is the, let's put a label on it, make sure that it's for certain ages or up. Prevent children and from learning. Books take us to different places. I'm not disappointed, but I'm just going to help you understand that sometimes we know no bounds, right? So Barnes and Noble was being sued by them to restrict children to access to certain books. When I go to a Barnes and Noble, I just all the things, working with all kinds of people, and I'm not segueing well, but all of the things, working with all kinds of people that find a way to stay in the news. And this is, I think we said this before, that this push about control, gosh, slightly disappointed, highly yeah, don't have any words. Let's just be honest. All right, so on the national level, I don't know if you all saw this. I think on Friday they're going to stop giving out free home COVID tests. So if you haven't already gotten one of the free tests, the sign-ups, they'll send them directly to your home. But that program where you were able to sign up for your free home COVID test is it's coming to an end, right? As we sort of live with COVID almost like it is the flu, but not quite. Shout out to Serena Williams, y'all, right? Let's get some good news. Let's give her, this woman is doing all the things, the most. Where am I? Yep, doing the most, right? This woman, I just can't tell you how amazingly dope I believe that she is, and am grateful for her presence in the world, in our world, and doing what she does. When she says she's gonna do it, she does it. And this is a testament to, I think she said that she's just transitioning, which is a beautiful thing. We're grateful for her. She's super amazing. And she's retiring. And that's going to hurt a bit. Secondly, if you guys were able to make it to the town hall the other day, thank you so much for everybody that attended the town hall. We had a great deal of folks online. We had citizen we had citizen PowerPoints. So what did happen was we had a gentleman by the name of James Shaw who presented about ranked choice voting, and it was very timely as he sort of builds the team around working on getting ranked choice voting as a part of the way we do business here. It's good for democracy. It's good for us. It makes sure that no one wins an election in our city without at least 1% of the vote. 50.1% of the vote. You got to have a majority vote to win. And then just this week, right, just the other day, in Alaska, Mary Pelota, which they adopted the ranked choice voting system. Mary Pelota won a special election against Sarah Palin. Look at this. It is very rare for a person who shares the kinds of values that we do in Alaska to win a race, but this is what ranked choice voting is about. It makes sure that no one, you can't win an election with 20% of the vote, right? That means that 80% of the people didn't select you, they selected somebody else. So this is a really great opportunity to bring this to our city. A great example was that we just had the city council race that I was in too. 7 people in the vote. Doesn't matter who won, right? I think I said this afterward. It doesn't matter who won. We still won with only 20 some odd % of the vote. That's not acceptable. So we've got to really think about what that system looks like and make sure that our representation looks more representative of the people, and the people wants, needs, and drives. I did talk about session. I'll save that. If you have, I think we talked about the railroads the other day. We're getting into election season, right, y'all? I'm about to get the early voting, the early voting information, right? I need you all to make sure that you are checking to verify that your voting information is up to date. The majority of Norfolk, like I said, will be voting for the 3rd congressional district, which is really important. But these dates, and I think I have them. I don't have them right in front of me. Not who's on your ballot. Okay, important dates to remember. Got it. I just want to make sure I put this on you all's ticker. Right? You ready? The first day to vote in-person early voting at the registrar's office is Friday, September 23rd. That's coming up around the corner. The deadline to register to vote or update your existing registration is on October 17th. Okay? If you need to apply for a mail-in ballot, right, like you want to do what we did before, October 28th is the day, but you gotta make sure it gets to the registrar by 5 o'clock on October 28th. So if you still plan on mail-in voting, that needs to happen. Early Saturday voting begins October 29th. The last 2 days to vote early in person or in person is going to be October 5th, and then the election is on October 8th. We are supposed to have same-day registration. We have not received much guidance on what that is going to look like, but it's super important to know that if you show up to the wrong precinct, or maybe you moved around, or you met somebody who said, yeah, I want to vote but I ain't registered, you can take them on down to the registrar, take them on down to the polling place and get them to vote, period. Right? Like, that's it. So remember, election day, this is midterms. We tend not to pay a lot of attention to midterms. The general election for this midterm is on October 8th. I do need you all to just check your status, right? Treat it like a health test. Make sure that you're up to date. Make sure your stuff. So remember, that's September 23rd. That is right around the corner. Is the first day to go ahead in and early vote. Now, on top of that, y'all, and this is about the human capital piece, we need more people. We need more people that can work at the registrar's office. At the polling places. Folks are retiring from it. They are deciding, like, I don't want to do this anymore. So if you can put in PTO, if you got it like that, take a day off. Maybe you're retired and you don't really have anything to do. I need you to reach out to the registrar's office and ask about being able to work the poll, especially with this 45 days of early voting. They need folks. They need folks to be able to to be able to stand up these stations, stand up our polling places and make it happen. Yeah, see, it happens to the best of us. So there's that. Making sure there's nothing else. I'm allowing, like, the chat is open, so if you guys have any questions, comments, or concern, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. I'm going to give it a little bit before I sign off here. Yeah, today I'm very sort of on off my rocker here. As we sort of deal with, and I will say that it's still up the street, it is still a crime scene. So there's half of the street is still blocked off at the moment. All right then. So I hope that you all are able to make it a great day. Do what you can with what you have. We've got a long road ahead of us, and that doesn't mean that we don't keep going. As we should remember that there's not one thing that fixes everything, that changes incremental, but that doesn't mean we do not start. Doesn't mean that we do not start. We allow these moments to pull more people in. So that's our task today, right? Make sure somebody checks their voter registration. Try to get somebody that can work their precinct so that we have what we need to make our city the best place for us. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys really so much. And I hope, like I said, you're able to make it a great day. Take care.